Alright, so in this video we're going to talk about 10 times as much and 1/10 of. We're going to refer back to our chart that we made when we started talking about powers of 10, when we each place value that we go towards the whole numbers is 10 times greater, and then if we go back towards the decimal it's 1/10 of, or depending on where you're landing will be 1/100th of or 1,000th of, so on and so forth. So let's take a look at this anchor chart right here to kind of refresh our memory. So if you notice, they've got the value of the power of 10. So we've got our ones, our tens, our hundreds, and our thousands. And this is just dealing with whole numbers. So if you notice, each time you move from the ones to the tens place, you're multiplying by 10. From the tens place to the hundreds place, you're multiplying by 10 again. From the hundreds to the thousands, you're multiplying by 10 again. So if I was here and I was trying to get here, I know that I would have to say, okay, well this is not 10, 1,000 is not 10 times more than 1. It's actually 1,000 more times than 1, because 10 to the third power is 1,000. If I was trying to go to the hundreds place, I would say that that 100 is 100 times more than 1. Now if I was going backwards and towards parts of a whole number, so a decimal, I know that 1,000 is 1/10 of 100. 100 is 1/10 of 10, or 10 is 1/10 of 100, I should say, because of means to multiply. But as you go back towards the decimal, you deal with fractions. So it says it takes 10 units to make a rod. So a rod has 10 times the value of 1 unit. So the little squares, that's 1 unit. And this is a whole tens rod, or a 10 stick, whatever you want to call it. It goes on to say that, you know, a unit is one of the 10 pieces. So a unit is 1/10 of the value of the rod. So if we're just looking at this example right here, this represents 1/10 of this entire rod. Okay. So if you're given two numbers, and you can compare the value of their digits. So we've got an 8 in the tens place here. The value of that 8 is 10. So 8 times 10 is 80. Excuse me, the value of that 8 is not 10, it's 80. But you multiply by 10 to get the value, because it's in the tens place. This value has a value of 8, because it's in the ones place. So the value of the 8 in this number right here is 10 times the value of the 8 in the second number, because to move from the 8 to the tens place, which is what we're doing here, we know we have to multiply 8 times 10 to get to the tens place, which is 80. Alright, so let's look at some examples and tell whether or not they're true or false, or answer our question. So the next slide says 70 is 1/10 of 700. Is it true or false? If I'm unsure, what I can do is I can draw a place value chart. And when I do this, I actually can draw two. Sorry, that line's a little crooked. Let me erase that because that's going to bother me. Whoops, went too far. Come on, pen. I'm still on the eraser. I need the pen. There we go. So I have my ones, my tens, and my hundreds. So here's my hundreds, here's my tens, here's my ones, my decimals over here. So if I have 70, and then I have my other chart with my hundreds, my tens, and my ones, and I have the number 700. It says 70 is 1/10 of this magical word of. I'm gonna highlight it and circle it and all of the above. Of means to multiply. Okay, so if we're here at the tens place and we're trying to go to the hundreds, what do we multiply by to get to the hundreds place down here? Well, we multiply by 10, right? So that tells me that if I was to look at it the opposite way, 70 is 1/10 of 700, because I'm moving a tenth, or I'm multiplying by 10. So this answer is true. Okay, let's look at the next one. What is 10 times as much as 80? So if I have 80, and I've got my 10s and my 1s, 10 times as much. So I'm multiplying by 10. So I know that 10 times as much of 80 is 800 because I moved one place to the hundreds place. So I moved that 8 one place. I've got to multiply by 10, which will give me 800. So what is 10 times as much as 80? 800. And that is my answer. Okay. Let's look at another one. 3 2/10 is 10 times as much as 32. Is this true or false? So once again, we're starting to get with decimals here, so let's make a place value chart. That's going to help us. So we've got our, let's do one more. We've got our hundreds, our tens, our ones, our decimal, and our tenths. So my number is 3 2/10. And then let me make another one for 32. I've got my hundreds, my tens, my ones, my decimal, and my tenths. So now I'm at 32. If I were to move one place to my tens, I know I'm going to multiply by 10, right? So also, if you think back to the previous video that you just watched with powers of 10, this is saying 10 times as much. Okay, so this is really saying 3 2/10 times 10 equals what? Well, this we know when it's 10 stands alone, 10 has a power of 1. So when it has a power of 1 and we're multiplying, we move the decimal to the right, one place, which equals 32. So is this true or false? It is true. Okay. Let's look at number 6. 2 3/800 is 100 times less than, this is supposed to say than, 23 8/10. True or false? So once again, what is the exponential form of 100? It's 10 to the second power. So if I were to multiply 2.38 or 2 3/800 times 10 to the second power, this 2 tells me that I need to move my decimal 2 places to the right. So 1, 2. So here's my decimal. My product is 238. So is 2 3/800 100 times less than that of 23.8? Well, if I multiply, it's not, because this would be 100 times more, right? So if I'm doing less, then I know it's going to be 2.38 or 2 3/800 times, excuse me, not times. Well, it is technically times, but 1 over 100, which is technically division because we're moving back this way. And if it is, I would have to move my decimal 1, 2 places to the left, which is going to be 0.238. So is this true or false? And if that doesn't make any sense, because maybe it doesn't, because I'm thinking about it right now and I'm a little confused myself. So I'm just going to make a place value chart. Teachers make mistakes too. Mistakes are proof that you're trying. So I've got my hundreds here, my tens, my ones, my decimal, and then my tenths. And I need one more place. Whoops, that looks wrong. Bear with me here. Bear with me, people. I've got my hundreds. So originally I have 2 3/8. And it says it's 100 times less than 23 8/10. So if it's 100 times less, that means I've moved backwards or to the left two places, two place values. And if I did that, starting here, it wouldn't be 23.8, it'd still be 238. Does that make sense? I hope so. If that one confuses you, I apologize. We'll go over it when I get back. Okay? So just a little debrief there. I'm going to give you one more just to kind of sit on, because that was not the best example, and I didn't do a very good job at explaining that one. So let me see if I can do a different one. Okay. 87 hundredths is 1/10 excuse me, of 87. So if I'm starting with 87 hundredths, I can really work backwards. And I can say, okay, well, if it's 1/10 of, that means it's smaller than 87. But is it really only 1/10, or is it 1/100th of? So if it's 1/10, then I've only moved my decimal place once. So it would be 8.7. If I moved it, if it said 87 hundredths was 1/100th of 87, that would be correct, because I would then move it once, twice, and we know that this is 1/10 and this is 1/10, and together they equal 1/100. Okay, maybe that makes a little bit more sense. So this is going to help you with the true or false matching page that you will do today as well. So do your best. Good luck, and if you have any questions, you can write them on a sticky note, and then I will view them when I return.